In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the I-cord tab that I use to start many of my shawl designs. And I like to use double-pointed needles for an I-cord, so that's what I'm going to use in this demonstration. This is a crochet I-cord, so you need a size D or E crochet hook, and it's good to use a smooth yarn that's in a different color from your project yarn. So what you want to do when you start out is make a slip knot, put that on your crochet hook, and then you're going to do 3 or 4 chains. Okay, now pick up your needle, lay that on top of the yarn, reach over the needle, grab your yarn and pull it through the hook. And now you have 1 stitch on the needle. Now you're going to put the yarn behind the needle, reach over, grab it, pull through this loop, and you have a 2nd stitch. And you'll keep doing this until you have the right number of stitches. This I-cord has 4 stitches, so I'm going to put an extra stitch on the needle now, and this will help when we go to put these stitches back on the needle. Okay, now when you're done with this, you want to do 3 or 4 chains and cut your yarn, pull through that loop just like you're finishing crochet, and then make a knot in this tail right here, because this is the end that you want to start to use to put your stitches back on the needle. Okay, now you're ready to start actually stitching the I-cord. So we're going to use our project yarn now for this. Make your little loop with your yarn and just start to knit. Now we're going to knit 4 stitches for this I-cord, so I'm going to knit the first 4 stitches. And then I'm just going to drop this stitch off the needle and just ignore it, because that won't hurt anything. Now slide your stitches to the end of the needle and knit that row again. Okay, now I've done that twice, so I've done 2 rows of I-cord. And to practice this, what we're doing today, do about 16 rows of I-cord. So I'm going to keep doing this till I have 16 rows of I-cord. Now if you don't want to use double-pointed needles, you could use the circular needles that you're working your project with. So I'm going to switch over to a circular needle now. I'm going to slip these stitches onto a circular needle, and you can do it the same way. Slide these to the end of the needle. Just takes a little longer because you have that long needle. And you're going to knit 4, the same as you were doing before. Now if you want to, instead of sliding the stitches, you can just slip them back to your left needle and then knit your row. Okay, so now we've done our 16 rows of I-cord, and we want to take these stitches and put them on the needle. So before we do that, we want to transfer the stitches to our circular needle, because that's what we'll be knitting our project with. So slip those stitches onto a circular needle if you use the double points. And we're just going to leave these stitches here toward this end, left end of the needle here. Slide them down a little bit. And take a look at your contrast yarn. You want to find the end that has the knot in it. And you're going to cut that knot off. And then pick out the chain. You want to undo the chain and you're going to pull it out till you get down to the first stitch that's in your project yarn. See, now I'm at that first stitch there. Get your yarn out of the way. And what I want to do is slip my needle through that stitch where I see the waste yarn, and then just give a pull on the waste yarn. It's going to come right out of the stitch. And now I'm going to go to the next stitch, put the needle through the stitch, and then pull out the waste yarn. This is a little tricky because that I-cord is going in a circle and you've got 4 stitches to pick up here. So here's number 3. We're going through that stitch, pulling this out. And then your last stitch is on the needle. And then you're just going to pull your waste yarn out completely and throw that away. Now slide your stitches down. Now what you see here, you want to orient your stitches so that your working yarn is at the right side here. So now that we have the stitches on the needle, you can see that the I-cord is twisted, and we want to fix that before we start knitting. So we're going to slip these stitches off the needle. You could use a double pointed needle, or I like to use a cable needle. Slip them off the needle and then rotate them so that your I-cord is not twisted, and then put them back on the needle. Okay, now you're going to slide all your stitches so that they're together. Slide them down to the right end of the needle. And what you want is to have your working yarn on the right side and your tail on the left side. To complete the I-cord tab, we're going to knit the first 4 stitches, pick up along this I-cord, and then knit the last 4 stitches. And this starting has double knitting along the edge, so we're going to work double knitting for the first 4 stitches, which is knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1 purlwise, yarn back, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1 purlwise, yarn back. Now we're ready to start picking up stitches. And if you turn your I-cord, you can see there's like a row of stitches along there. You want to go through both sides of this stitch when you pick up and try to keep going through the same stitch all the way across. I'm going to show you 3 ways to pick up stitches. The first way is probably the most common, and that is you're going to take your right needle, go through both sides of that first stitch, and then knit your stitch up. The right needle, go through both sides, then yarn over, pull the yarn through, and you have another stitch. Okay, I'll do one more. So you picked up 3 stitches so far. Now another way to do it is to use the left needle, and this time you're going to go from back to front through the same 2 sides of the stitch, and you're just going to knit this like it was a regular stitch. Knit both of those sides together. Come in through the back and then knit those together from the back, and I'm keeping the same stitch that I'm going through each time. You know, a third way to do it is to use a crochet hook. And if you crochet, you're probably comfortable holding a hook, and so you can do it this way. You're going to go through from the front, go through both sides, grab the yarn with your hook, pull it through, and then put it up on the needle. Okay, from front to back, go through both sides, yarn over the hook, pull it through, and put it up on the needle. Now I'm going to pick up all the way to the end of the I-cord, and you'll pick up a certain number of stitches according to your instructions. Now if you get to the end and it looks like you're going to run out of stitches, you can do 2 stitches in one, and the way to do that is for your first stitch, go through just one loop, go through the back loop of the stitch, pick that up, put it on the needle, and then go through the same stitch again, but this time go through both sides. And that way you can add an extra stitch if you start running out of rows on your I-cord. You can go right up to those 4 stitches. Okay, so now what we're going to do is knit these last 4 stitches just like we did the first ones in the double knitting. Knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1 purlwise, yarn back, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1 purlwise, yarn back. And now you're all set. You're ready to start knitting your shawl.